Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new episode of Flesh Wound Farce, where we review and discuss your and our favorite comedy films. This is the world's first and only combination trivia host and professional wrestling announcer of Chilean descent that currently resides in Southern California, Ozzy V. And with me, as always, on this program, first in the Northern California Bay Area, world famous juggler Greg Larson. How you doing, Greg?
Doing all right. How about yourself, Ozzy?
Well, we are recording this on August 31st, but it is airing after week 4 of the NFL season. So I'm not sure if my team has their current head coach. So we'll see what happens. Also with us, ladies and gentlemen, Flesh Wound producer Todd. How you doing, Todd?
I am chilling on the verge of October. So exciting.
The exciting month. It's almost like Christmas. However, right now, today, we are reviewing and discussing the film It Came From Hollywood, which was released on October 29th, 1982. Todd, do you have a trailer available?
Kinda. We got us a TV spot.
A TV spot.
Dan Aykroyd,
Wasn't the whole
John
movie a
Candy,
trailer?
Cheech and Chong, and Gilda Radner present It Came From Hollywood.
What's this movie about, man?
It's you.
Scary monsters.
Fun. And juvenile delinquency. And there's dirty parts, too.
And rock and roll.
Hey, this guy knows what he's talking about.
For the movie that's guaranteed to make you laugh,
Ah, a baby.
see It Came From Hollywood. Rated PG. It Came From Hollywood opens Friday at select theaters and drive-ins in the greater Detroit area.
Drive-ins.
Detroit.
And that was a TV spot commercial for It Came From Hollywood. Again, released on October 29th, 1982. Rated PG with a runtime of 80 minutes. Directed by Malcolm Leo and Andrew Solt. Written by Dana Olson. Starring Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, Cheech and Chong, and Gilda Radner. Initial thoughts on this. I heard about this from you, Todd, and you had explained to me what the particular shtick of the movie was, and it intrigued me even further.
Especially with all those with that cast.
Right. Would you care to explain for someone who might not be familiar?
This is a comedy documentary, I guess is the best way to put it. You have, all these different people and they're presenting their I guess little monster movies. Like they're all just like different types of movies and kind of have fun with whatever it is. And almost a precursor to Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Absolutely. And well, what it seemed like it's, these five minds are like, man, Hollywood is really stupid. If only there was a way we could bring attention to that and make fun of it. And so the approach was almost that of like a mockumentary of sorts.
Yeah.
Was that it was approaching it as the history of Hollywood, right? But then and allowing them to show all sorts of clips, and some of these clips making you understand why it's not available to stream wherever you care to stream. However, you can find variations of this film on YouTube, and once you see its content, you will understand what we were talking about. It's pretty much takes some of the most ridiculous, obscene, offensive clips in the history of cinema. We're talking in the black and white days.
These are some classics, by the way.
And this movie was done in 82, so classics for 82.
This is actually my favorite part, is that you had guys like the aforementioned Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, Cheech and Chong, Gilda Radner in 1982 looking back and saying, man, it was really messed up back then.
Right.
Well, this movie was rated PG. PG-13 had yet to be created at this time. That's what amused me. But so it should be, if anyone was to seek this out, there should be a precursor of caution. Will most likely offend somebody if they walk into a room and they don't know what's going on.
There's one particular theme that even me, I'm like,
That's
but I think we're making fun of it too, at least.
Yes.
Right. Right.
The whole purpose of was to bring attention to, like, see how dumb these people were, like, kind of thing.
What's interesting is it's simultaneously progressive, with like Dan Aykroyd and John Candy recreating a scene, and they're like, I don't see why this is weird, like,
Well, time changes things.
yeah.
So I kind of meshed my initial thoughts a little bit, but to sum it up, I hadn't heard about this, but when I heard about who was involved and what the premise was, I was more than excited to check it out. And this is a movie I saw starting at 2 o'clock in the morning while I was like maybe about like 60% capacity, like you're winding down at that point. But this movie woke me up and was just in this, like, of all the stuff I was watching, was just like, wait, what? Oh my! Oh, I should not be watching this. I should not be watching this. I'm going to hell. I'm so going to hell.
So I'm
But,
curious, like, woke you up? Wow, this is
oh my
exciting, or woke you up? This is a car wreck, and I can't turn my eyes away.
it woke me up and like, it's like those Fox TV shows they used to do there, where it was like, world's
What?
scariest crashes,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
gotta see this,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and that's what it seemed like. There was one particular scene when one head is on another man's body, and he lifts his left arm and sees his arm and says, "Is this supposed to be a joke?" And it's like, was this this was really real? And that was the great thing, is that all movies were clipped. Sorry.
The two-headed the thing with two geez. There's two two-headed transplant movies, and I forget which one it was.
But yeah, one of those where it seriously made me question, like, no, this scene was specifically for this movie. This wasn't
Right.
actually a real movie, but that all movies they cited were all actual films, which is very, very, very interesting.
I gotta tell you
to say the
this.
least.
One thing that you don't know from watching this clip movie is ape. That's the one with the ape scene and the middle finger.
Mhm.
That's not only is that a real movie, that's a real 3D movie, and it's spectacular.
That's awesome. I know when we were going through it, Jackie was saying how she's like, "Oh, I can't believe that's a movie. Can't believe that's a movie. Can't believe that's a movie." And then Attack of the Killer Tomatoes came on, and she's like, "Really? That's a movie too?" I was like, "As a matter of fact, they made a cartoon series out of it too." So
And 3 sequels.
yeah,
The second film's one of my favorites.
So this movie has so many great lines.
I see. I knew you would react. Like, I was curious how this was going to go. I'll be honest, because I think no matter what, there's a curiosity for the talent in there to at least want to see it. But I wasn't sure if you were just going to be going through the motions to get to the next. I haven't seen this bit with Dan Aykroyd or that. But
Mhm.
hearing you actually enjoyed the whole process, I'm kind of surprised.
Well, there seemed to be a certain level of cohesiveness, is that this had the approach. It was approached like a documentary, but its content was ridiculous, and they just let that be. They didn't have to do anything extra to it. They just went with the flow of it, which is what made it work. But there's so many great lines in this. I know specifically I stole Todd's out on our last episode with Booksmart. So
I got
because
a
of
bunch
that-
on this one.
well, I'll
You're
let
good.
you go first here, so you can take first dibs.
Jeez, first dibs. I wasn't ready. Best line. Well, I love the Cheech and Chong stuff, but I'm gonna go with one that always made me laugh even as a kid. Chong's popcorn, the daddy size popcorn when he comes out with it. I'll tell you another thing. I didn't know till seeing this version. It's like the cleanest version I've ever seen. I thought it was a literal like metal garbage can spray painted until today. You can see it's actually plastic. I was like, my mind was blown. So yeah, I don't know that. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that one.
Bonnie Feldstein was Jonah Hill's sister. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know. I have so many. If we do a second round, I'm ready. But I'm gonna go with that one because that one, since I was a kid, always makes me laugh. Even when I know it's coming, just the whole ordering the snacks, and now it's even funnier because I understand why.
Right. Yeah.
A lot more jokes didn't go over my head this viewing.
Right.
So, funny, after the last movie that we saw, which was like a coming of age movie, while watching it, I felt, man, the kids in this show seem much younger than the about to graduate kids during our generation. So when there was the line of "must be tough being a 35-year-old freshman," like that got me real good for this one.
So this one was so simple and so just okay, well, I'll explain it. So it's a scene with the detective, and you have John Candy adding some clips in narration, and he says, "Now here's an actor who really knows how to use his gun." And he uses the gun to point his hat upward. That's the last thing. It's so great because it's one of those perfect lines. It's the last thing you expect. Usually, you know how a gun is used, and then just points it up for his hat. It was just parts of your brain were like displaced because you weren't expecting that. But and then the tone with it is like his own, his own delivery and his own style that just, oh yeah, here's an actor who really knows how to use his gun. Just such great delivery. But there was chock full of this. If you want to go a second round, I'm definitely willing to, Todd, if you have another.
Screen history. The first time a guy's ever been eaten by, well, we'll just finish that one. But yeah, that one give me a big laugh.
Greg?
So this was one that was actually not a joke from anyone making commentary, but was from the film. There's this guy who's continually growing, and he goes, "You know what they wrote about me in the yearbook? A man most likely to reach the top."
You had some scenes with Dan Aykroyd and a brain, and he's approaching a female character, and she tries to deny his advances, and he responds with, "Oh, don't be such a brain tease." And that was one of those, like, I think the actual line was, "Don't be such a brain teaser." Just really, as a play on words, and just hit me so perfectly. And I just want to give an honorable mention to Cheech and Chong making fun of Reefer Madness.
Yep. That was my drugs in the movie.
Man. Well, but also all the Cheech and Chong parts were great. Especially so you had, was it the guy with the afro? He sat down. "Oh, excuse me, sir. Somebody puked in that seat. Sorry, I didn't tell you earlier." And then the two ladies come, and then Chong says, "Hey, you guys, some guys puked in." Well, you said someone puked in those seats, man. Like,
yeah, Chong trying to keep up to Reefer Madness with it, like puff, and he's trying to smoke as fast as I had. Just his face and him doing it, he gets that Cheech face going. Yeah, that was good.
So that unfortunately not available to stream, and won't be anytime soon, most likely. But what was that you had mentioned about a Blu-ray version that was?
Oh no, the DVD. I'll tell you the story about this one. Like it came out on VHS and Laserdisc. I had the Laserdisc. It was right about to hit DVD when Paramount was doing a lot of stuff in the early DVD days. It was announced it had a street date, and then they realized they couldn't do it because they hadn't cleared all the movies in here, and there's like 30 movies they got to clear. So basically, there's no financial way for Paramount to clear all these different movies now and put out a disc. So I don't even think like they can legitimately put it out on streaming. It pops up on YouTube. It's on there now as of this recording. There's always versions of it up there.
Well, I just want to point something out. If someone's watching this movie and had that information that this movie can't be found on streaming, and you are not told why, you might automatically go straight to the, oh, well, it's not on streaming because of this is such offensive content. This couldn't fly. Just understand, it didn't get a DVD release because it couldn't get the movies cleared. It's not streaming because it couldn't get the movies cleared. That is the real reason why. Good stuff. We never gave this rating yet, or we had.
No, we haven't. You know, I do want to say one thing real quick before we do the rating. This is like a genre of movie you don't like have anymore. Like, not specifically just that, like the comedy kind, but like in the 80s around here, there was a bunch of like clip movies. Like there was a Universal did one, Terror in the Isles with Jamie Lee Curtis and like I can't remember who, was it Donald Pleasance? Was it? But like, and they just hosted and talked about like horror movie clips, and like you went to the movies to see these. There's a few other ones that like came out around this time.
Well, yeah, because there was no YouTube.
Well,
The only place you could see clips strung together like that was at the theater.
Yeah, and
so
people went.
That's you know, it's movies like these where it's cheap enough to where they'll green light it, but you know it costs enough to actually pull the work in and pull up.
So you know
all that stuff together at that time.
You know, if they made this movie today and did the same concept with modern comedians, they'd be watching movies from the early 90s. Just saying.
Yeah. I imagine there'd be a lot of clips from Ghost Dad.
Oh God.
But into the ratings of this, I loved its approach and the delivery and everybody in it. It's the 5 all the way from me. 100%.
Wow.
Greg?
I'm taken aback.
Yeah, I'm a little shocked. So I little behind the scenes thing for trying to get in some better shape. No like ideological reasons or anything. I am about 4 weeks completely sober, and I think this movie means that streak's over. Because I feel like I was on drugs most of this film, and it took me a while to figure out what was going on. I think because I've seen so many of these films at this point in time on like Mystery Science Theater or Riff Tracks, it was a little hard because I felt I was just getting snippets of jokes, and for me, Cheech and Chong were golden. Like they were fantastic in every single bit that they did. But I just felt a little bit of like a lot of the rest of it was a little flat for me. So which is funny because I thought Ozzy's gonna watch this and be like, "Oh, this is some Lost Skeleton."
I was so waiting for that too.
And I think I would actually enjoy the films themselves that they were talking about because I think they're so ridiculous in their entirety that I'd enjoy the film itself more that they were spoofing. So although Cheech and Chong were great and everyone, I think I was expecting more with the all-star cast that there was. Like I was expecting more of their voice to be heard to make this something different. So I'm unfortunately going to give this a 2.5. It wasn't bad, like, but I think I was just like, I've seen MST3K and I've had a lot more fun with it. And so I think this is one of those movies like with 4 Rooms where if I give it a second watch, kind of knowing where I'm going and not expecting this like comedy, like explosion from who is in this cast. I think I can rewatch it and get what it's about and maybe enjoy it a little more the next time through. But for right now, it's a 2.5 for me.
Do you think you could go back and give a legitimate in-time review of Super Mario Brothers?
Which one?
The original.
The original?
Yeah.
Crappy one.
Like,
yeah. Could you give a review as though you were in 1989 reviewing this game? Like 88, 89? Right?
The movie? I don't know.
Not the movie,
like,
the game.
Oh, the game?
Yeah.
Oh no, well maybe not. I
We
think
can
it's still reviewable for now.
because I understand what you're saying with the now being familiar with Mystery Science Theater and riff tracks. It's like saying now being familiar with an N64 and Mario 64, this Mario Brothers just wasn't up to snuff for me. And it's like,
No, because I think, as a matter of fact, we have a great example right now. Because even though
you
not
bring
quite
up
the
Lost
same,
Skeleton of Cadabra, I swear to
no,
God.
no, if you're talking about games, I think right now Star Wars, the newest Star Wars game, is a great example. It is, even though it's a new game and graphically it is gorgeous, a lot of the gameplay is of an older style. It is that older Watch Dogs style. But I can appreciate it for what it is. And much like a Mario game, the classic Mario games are still fun. You do know that there's more to games, but the inherent like play style of it is a lot of fun. Uniracers, still amazingly fun. Old game from Super Nintendo. So fun is can surpass, its age, much like a lot of the films we've watched that are older. So I think that with this, like, I just watched The Great Dictator, fantastic film. Still, like, I don't have to transport myself,
Can I ask you something?
Hmm.
When did you watch this movie?
uh not that long ago.
No, but I mean, like, okay, so at what point during the day did you watch this movie? Did you watch it at night after, like, you'd been working like a full
You know
day?
the answer to this.
Yes, it was at night
Hour
after
ago.
work, after I just watched another
Okay,
movie right
so
before it.
right, but okay, for those that did not know that, do you feel that potentially you might have a different opinion if, let's say, you woke up at like 10 and just threw on the movie at like 11:30?
I don't think so. Like, just because it just, the clips were so, sometimes it was just like, here's some clips, and then you watch them and you're like, okay, yeah, those are some bad movies, but I've seen so many of them, it's not shocking. Like, I don't like, because I've seen those clips
Okay.
before,
Okay,
you
so let me
know.
ask you this. Imagine you had not. Imagine there was no Mystery Science Theater, there was no riff tracks. This was that movie.
I mean, to be fair, that scene that we all know about, there was a holy crap. Like, so I think the movie did have its like moment for me that it's intending, of like that shock of like, this is Hollywood cinema and it's crazy. But since I had seen so much similar to it, it doesn't have that shock factor. So I'm not this person in 82 that is unaware of all these like B sci-fi movies, and this is now like, wow, what a reflection of where we are now to then, because I've seen all the stuff from those B sci-fi movies, so
Okay.
it's
So
not
good.
as
Do
shocking.
you think if you had seen this movie in the theater though in 1982 or
if
1980 rather?
if I wasn't someone who had seen those others,
Yeah.
like if I hadn't seen all the B sci-fi, yeah, no, this would be probably a lot more fun. But since
Okay,
it's just, it
that's
doesn't
that's exactly what I was getting at. Okay. Good.
It's
Good.
like watching what's that Rob Diedrich uh show that he does where he's got all the YouTube clips, but
Ridiculousness.
ridiculousness. It's like if you watch ridiculousness and you've already seen those like videos on YouTube, you're like, all right, cool, you've packaged them all, but I've seen these, so it doesn't have its, like, for me, it just didn't have that shock value. And I was expecting more of those Cheech and Chong moments where, like I said, they were brilliant. They deserve like a 5 for themselves, because their commentary was spot on.
Okay.
Like, their
So
jokes were great.
finalized. Greg gives it a 5 for Cheech and Chong.
I mean,
Moving on.
I'll go
Todd?
with that.
I'm like I like you guys completely rated it the opposite I was expecting. I'll tell you that right now. But I get what you're trying to do, Ozzy. But like, so this
Trying to
this
do.
is trying to say
Trying to say. Yeah.
or both.
I
This,
know what you're
like,
trying to do.
your first time. This is your first time watching it, and you were unfamiliar with stuff. When the first time I saw it, 40 years ago, it was all new to me. Like, and I still remember when I saw Ape the first time. I was like, oh, that's from Ape Came from Hollywood. Right when I saw that middle finger. Yeah, I love this. But see, that's the thing. Like, I saw it forever ago, and like, so I have the nostalgia part going with it too. Yeah, I'm a 5 also. I do love this picture. And I'm really shocked. You guys are the exact opposite I expected.
That is really funny. Because I was and actually watching this,
But
was thinking to
I
myself,
get that
I have
because
a
he knows
feeling.
him.
Sorry?
No, and I get though where Greg's coming from because he's seen, like, having seen them all, it's like not like that first time like you had isn't there because it's all new to you.
Right. Well, I'm still I was regularly watching Mystery Science Theater. Like,
Okay.
I was recording them on VHS every Saturday, right? While I was at football practice, and I'd come home and I'd watch the latest tape, and I'd watch some episodes where I would literally be laughing so hard that I couldn't breathe. I would like see spots, right?
Mhm.
But there was, I guess maybe because I grew up with Dan Aykroyd, I grew up with John Candy, and I'm not saying, this is a blanket statement. This is me for just me, is that when I see Dan Aykroyd on screen, I'm already like, okay, cool. And maybe it needed to be somebody else because he was also there for 1941, and that didn't seem to help much. So
I think that's where it was harder for me because I do get excited for them as well. Same with Gilda Radner. But like I just didn't feel they produced as much. It was more about them presenting the clips.
I
Unlike Cheech
honest,
and Chong, who had a much stronger commentary, and you're like, that I wish I got more of how Cheech and Chong were from the others.
I think they didn't want to overdo it in the sense that they saw that's what Cheech and Chong was doing. So they're kind of going to be the comedic relief of the comedy here, right? They're going to be the guys that are observing the actual movie in the theater, whereas everybody else is going to be talking about them, right? And
Well,
that
even
was
still
just
talking about him, like having better commentary. I just thought they fell flat on the comedy side of it. It was more like, let's be a little deadpan and present this with a lot of what they've showed. So
okay. And that was something that I actually enjoyed was that style and that approach. So that's just a difference of opinion
You
there.
know what? Greg needed to smoke some M.
some
Some of that M, and you would have liked it better.
probably.
Oh, that's funny.
Uh,
That's a fantastic note to end things on. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our review. I mean, we've said our piece on this film and has said our opinions. If you have an opportunity to check it out and you're a fan of these individuals, because Greg, you could say that while it wasn't your favorite, you still think it's worth, if you're a fan of these individuals, that it's worth at least watching once over.
Even if you're not a fan of these people, if you're not familiar with this age of Hollywood, not 82, but prior, it's worth a watch. So
And it's only 80
worth
minutes long,
watching.
so
Right.
it's such a great runtime.
And the first 20 minutes, I swear, feels like 2 weeks worth of information of movies.
Right, absolutely. So if you gentlemen don't have anything else, I'll go into my normal spiel. That being, I'll be hosting trivia this week at Orange County First, Tuesday at the Rush Barn Grill in Lake Forest beginning at 6:30, and Wednesday at the Brewery in Placentia beginning at 7 o'clock. Always free to play in prizes for the top winning teams. Come on out, have some fun. And if you gentlemen don't have anything else, we'll be heading out for the evening. So feel free to join us next week. We are approaching October, which we will have our lineup of horror comedies for you to listen to us, review, and discuss. For world famous juggler Greg Larson and Flesh Wound producer Todd, I am Ozzy V, and we'll see you next week right here on a brand new episode of Flesh Wound Farce.